What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today's feature blade is from Kershaw. What we've got is the Kershaw Natrix carbon fiber. Look at this knife, it's beautiful. The model number on this knife is 7007CF. The CF, of course, for carbon fiber. And you should be able to find this knife just about anywhere for $39 to $45. I picked this up on eBay from one of my trusted eBay sellers for $39 shipped, and I think it is a fabulous deal for that. You know, what we've got here is the Kershaw Natrix, and most of you should know the history of the Natrix. This is a design that is trickled down from Zero Tolerance in their 0777 model and the 0770 models. And then Kershaw started doing sort of a budget version, and it was called the Natrix. And initially, it was a speed safe assisted opener version, and then in 2018, through much feedback from knife enthusiasts to Kershaw, what Kershaw has done is started changing this product line over from the speed safe system to a manual flipper with the KVT bearing system on the pivot. And that is a much requested and very much appreciated change in this model, guys. And I believe, I'm not actually sure about the timeline, but I'm pretty sure that the carbon fiber model is the model that they started the changeover with. And you know what, guys? I'm going to have to say, this is my favorite model of this knife. It is just very aesthetically pleasing to me. It's very well made. We're going to go through all of this stuff in this review, take an in-depth look at it as we like to do here on Baz on Blades. And I think that you will grow to appreciate this version of the Natrix a little more as we go along. Now, let's go ahead and pull the packaging out here. And it is just the Kershaw red and black packaging here. Let's see. We'll take a look at the sticker on it right here. And this is what you're looking for. Natrix CF 7007CF. And again, you should be able to find this at any of the more popular cutlery retailers in the $39 to $45 price point. And, you know, I think it's a pretty decent deal at that. Let's go ahead and knock out the numbers on this knife. This is a what we have come to consider the core, the classic, the sort of best EDC sort of size of knife. You're looking at about a 3 1/4 inch blade length. It's slightly greater than 8 centimeters. Your blade stock thickness is 115 thousandths of an inch, or 2.94 millimeters. The blade width is 1.16 inches, or 29.5 millimeters. Your handle length, 4 3/8 of an inch, or 11 centimeters. Your handle thickness, it's pretty thin, at 433 thousandths of an inch, or 11 millimeters. The handle width at the widest point is 1.46 inches, or 37.1 millimeters. Your overall length, slightly less than 7 5/8 of an inch, or about 19 centimeters. The stop pin diameter, you are looking at 118 thousandths of an inch, or 3 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness, behind the secondary grind on this knife, is a very decent 20 thousandths of an inch, or 0.52 millimeters. Your handle to blade ratio, again, a very decent 0.74. And your weight, a nice light weight of 2.89 ounces, or 82 grams. So what you've got here, guys, is a real competitor in the sort of budget realm of EDC size knives, with a bunch of good upgrades and some very appealing aesthetic design choices on this knife. Now, as far as materials go, the one ding that most people are going to give this knife is the blade steel, and it uses HCR 13 MOV, which is extremely common with Kershaw's Chinese produced import models. And you know what, I'm not an HCR 13 MOV hater. I have another Kershaw, one of the Emerson models, that I've been using daily for about 3 months at my job, and I use it 20 or 30 times a day at my job, and I still have not resharpened that knife. It does need to be resharpened after 3 months of use, but it still has a moderate working edge on it. Now, HCR 13 MOV is a mid-range stainless steel. It's competitive in the sort of AUS 8 range, and it's not something that's considered a high performer, but it's not the worst steel out there either. You're looking at a carbon content of 0.7 to 0.8, a chromium content of 13% to 14.5%, and it is a vanadium alloyed stainless steel with 0.1 to 0.25% of vanadium. You'll typically see it rock weld in the 56 to 59 range, and what you get out of this steel is decent edge retention. It's easy to resharpen. It'll take a polished edge if you like that. The toughness and impact resistance is fairly good. This steel will tend to roll before it will chip or crack. And then corrosion resistance is good. It is better when the blade is it has a smooth finish. I don't like HCR 13 MOV with a bead blast finish. It tends to spot rust a little bit with a bead blast finish if you don't take care of it. But with this coated finish, there should never be a problem with this blade steel. All right, material wise in your handle, this is something that we have seen out of Kershaw and other manufacturers. They're using this G10 with carbon fiber laminated on it, and then they have machined this pattern to reveal the colored G10 underneath and leave the carbon fiber layer in a pattern, sort of an overlay. It's very, very attractive. This blue, I think I'm getting a really true color representation here on camera. The blue is a slate blue. It's subdued. It's a beautiful, beautiful blue. It's not like the bright blue G10s that you see more often. It's a wonderful looking blue. I really, really like this. In fact, it's one of my favorite blue knives I've ever seen. So you've got the G10 here, and then all your small parts are in stainless, and your pivot, your blade, your lock bar insert here on the subframe lock, your pocket clip, all have this gunmetal titanium nitride coating on it, and I think that goes very well with the color of the handle G10 and the carbon fiber. Your very small hardware, your small screws and pocket clip screws, are in just a basic black, and they pretty much just disappear into the design. And what you're left with is, of course, the handle material popping out, the carbon fiber popping out, and then the overall use of this gunmetal sort of coating. And it just really, it's just every decision as far as coatings or colors or machining patterns or anything on this knife, every one of those decisions, in my opinion, are just fantastic decisions. I don't know how you could make this particular knife look any better than it does. It's just a very, very attractive knife. So there you go on materials. Now let's go to fit and finish. In your blade here, this Nitrix blade design with these ball milled fullers on it, big soft plunge here. The machining on my particular one is very good. It doesn't have the most consistent secondary grind, But on budget Kershaws, we've come to expect that, and it is not as bad as some that I have seen. It was very sharp out of the box, and I've been carrying and using this knife for a couple of 2 or 3 weeks now. I was not disappointed in the edge quality. And I think that when I come back to resharpen it, that, you know, I'll be able to put a fantastic edge on it, except for one thing. It has this big, super soft plunge grind, guys. And it doesn't, I mean, you can see that sort of vertical line in the reflection. Everything behind that vertical grind is in the plunge. So you would have to have a sharpening choil on this thing that would be more like a forward finger choil in order to get out past that plunge. If you go to resharpen this knife, what you're going to do is you're going to encounter a bunch of edge flare here at the termination end of the edge, the secondary grind. And you know what? That's disappointing. And the reason it's going to be this way is aesthetic and design choices. They made those choices with the shape of this blade, the type of grind on it. They decided to go with that look over the function of a more sharpenable edge. I mean, that's just all there is to it. This is form over function in that decision, guys, and it's like that on, as far as I know, on all of the Natrix stuff. And maybe not on the zero tolerance. I have a hard time picturing it in my head because I don't have one here in front of me. But that is a, you know, sort of a downfall of this design. Other than that, everything on mine is good as far from a manufacturing standpoint. The ball mill grooves on mine meet at the spine fairly even. You know, it's got good jimping on it. I'm very happy with the jimping, guys. No issues there. And it's a utilitarian blade shape. Fit and finish on the handle, absolutely perfect. I can find no issues on the handle anywhere in the hardware, the G10, the way everything fits together. You've got this Zytail, you know, semi-floating backspacer here, and the fold-over pocket clip that fits within the machined area here on the handle and is reversible for right or left-hand tip-up carry. All the finish on the small parts is good. On your subframe lock bar here is good. I mean, it just it's finished very well overall. There's no issues in the finish at all, and really that issue with the plunge and the sharpening choil is more of a design issue. It's as long as they use this design of this blade, it's always going to be there. It's not an issue from manufacturing. So the fit and finish on this thing it's very good, guys. I've got zero issues with that at all, especially given $39 for this knife. So on to action. Now, like I say, these were initially introduced as a speed safe assisted opener design. If you like speed safe, then you would like that. If you don't like it, then you would hate it. And I'm sort of on the fence. I don't hate speed safe, but I do prefer bearing pivots with a good detent, and that is what I got in this knife. It is absolutely a joy to flip. It has a stout detent that has a very crisp feeling to it. It is fabulous to flip. It rockets out, guys. And closing it, you can hear the character of the detent when you close it. Let's get up here and you can hear this. Okay, see how crisp that sounds? It's a fairly stout detent, and it is the edge of the detent is very crisp. And the KVT bearing system on this is very smooth. Now this blade is sort of light with the thinner blade stock, so it's not really drop shut, but it is everything but drop shut. And I've not done anything to this knife except put a couple of drops of my typical, let's see here, I use the break-free Precision LP, which is, you know, about a 10 weight oil. I've used it for years. And in fact, that's a new tube that I had to get when my old tube that I've used for 2 years, my old tube is about empty. So I really do like that stuff. But anyway, I just put a couple of drops of oil on this, and you know what? It's very, very smooth. And it came very clean feeling from the factory. Not any grit in the pivot. I didn't have to clean this knife at all. And good, I'm not joking, guys. The action on this knife is awesome. It is awesome, guys. There is no two ways around that. My particular model, the lockup is fully 50%. The centering on mine is absolutely perfect. So I've got 0 issues with the action at all. 0 issues. In fact, this is one of the crispest bearing pivot flipper folders that I have ever had to come through this channel, and I would put it up there with my Zero Tolerance 0452 carbon fiber, which is the standard in my collection that I judge all other knives regardless of price point. This knife is that good, at least my example is. All right, let's go with ergos and utility use here. What you've got in this sort of sheep's footy drop point pointy blade profile is a lot of good utilitarian use. It is fully pretty much basically belly the entire length of the cutting edge. It makes for a very efficient slicer combined with a very high flat grind and moderately fairly pretty thin behind the edge thickness at 20 thousandths of an inch. So it's a very slicey, guys. I've had no issues with that. And then in this profile, you do get a decent point. And while it's not the super piercy point, it is piercy enough. And it's a good looking blade profile. I mean, that's one of the things about this knife. This is just a good looking knife, and that applies to the blade profile too. And then it's got that high flat grind and thin edge and lots of belly to make it a good cutter at the same time. So as far as utilitarian use of the blade, there's a lot of win there. The only downfall is still in that cheap Chinese stainless that's not going to hold an edge forever, but will be easy to resharpen. All right. Now, in addition to that, this jimping, let's get another look at it. It is flat topped, but the way it is cut in between the jimping on it, it makes it very, very effective. It is not as good as, say, like a PM2 type of jimping that's more pointed, but it is very effective. Ergos, as far as a handle goes, the only thing that I will say that could be construed as negative at all for this handle is at 433 thousandths in handle thickness, it might be a little thin for guys or gals with large hands. My hands are medium to large, and the handle is fine with me. It is overall a wide and flat profile, which makes it very easy to carry in your pocket, very easy to index in your hand. It keeps it from, as you use it, it's not going to want to twist or roll in your hand like a more round handle would. It's a fairly open design. You've got a moderate choil here that's large. You've got a secondary concave section here that catches your other 3 fingers. It is a full-size handle, at 4 3/8 of an inch in length. So it's got plenty of real estate there for most hand sizes. You've got a concave section here at the back, and the butt drops down, and that is a curved and ergonomic design that I appreciate and like on most knives. because your hand is not flat. It's got curves and creases and recesses, and this type of handle design tends, in my opinion, to be very ergonomic feeling, and this concave leads right into the jimped ramp on the blade spine. So ergonomically, I'm good to go on this. Great forward grip. In reverse grip, it's good. Draw grip, like a lot of flippers, I think you're going to have a little bit too much intrusion into the webbing between your thumb and first finger with the flipper. But as far as forward grip and reverse grip, the two most common grips, it's very good. Also, this knife is very friendly for pinching up and laying your finger way out on the spine of the blade to where you can rotate more towards the front of the edge here and do some delicate work like that. It's very good because you've got that thin handle to help you pinch it in order, you break that finger loose and get it up there. It's comfortable to use for that type of cutting also. So ergonomics, very good. So let's set this thing down real quick, and we're going to do our final thoughts on this, close this video out, because let's break this down. Material wise, the only disappointment in this knife is the continued use of HCR13 MOV by Kershaw, and even at the lower price point I got this knife for $39, there's an awful lot of budget competition out there that at that price point is using D2 tool steel or 9CR stainless, or some slightly better steels. We got some stuff in VG10, and those steels are arguably slightly better. I mean, except for D2, which is not arguably slightly better, it's just flat out better than HCR. So that's really, material wise, the only disappointment in this knife. As far as fit and finish goes, at least on my example, it's pretty much perfect right out of the box. No issues there. I'm going to fit in there. The only disappointment, I think, is the design on the blade with that super huge soft plunge grind. Resharpening this is going to be a pain without getting a ton of flare at the termination end of the grind because of that. But other than that, fit and finish is fantastic. On my example, at least, the action, the centering, and the lockup are fabulous. I just honestly, I don't know how you'd get a better flipping action than this. It is very, very crisp, very explosive, and very satisfying. The KV2 bearings are very smooth, and the only thing that stops this knife from being just guillotine, drop shut smooth is the lightweight, thin blade stock and lock bar tension working together. If that was a heavier blade stock, say 150 thousandths, I believe that it would be drop shut smooth just as it is. But I can't say enough about the action on this knife. It is very, very, very good, at least in my example. I'm very happy with that. Ergos and utility, that continuous belly, edge profile, thin behind the edge thickness, high flat grind on this sort of drop foot, sheep's footy blade profile. Excellent utility use out of that. It's very slicey, so I'm happy with that. The handle ergos are very good. That is something that's always been appreciated on this 777 series of design, whether it's the 777, 770, Nitrix, whatever. It's a very ergonomic handle, with only the thinness being a detraction maybe for people with large, extra large hands. All right. In addition, you get what I think is a great pocket clip design. It's short, it's stubby, it's small, it fits within the design parameters and design language of the knife. It is a deep carry, and it is reversible for right or left. So ergo's utility and carry wise, it's all there also. And you know what? I struggled to find anything negative to say about this knife. I love the design. The execution is fantastic. The blade still is sort of meh, but workable. And, you know, at the $39 to $45 price point, if you like this design and it's worth it to you, I say get it. I'm very happy that I picked it up to review, and this is going to stay in my collection regardless of whether it's a budget model or not. All right. So there you go. Baz on Blades is going to recommend this model. You just got to basically, you've got to make a decision about that blade steel and whether it's worth the price to you. Other than that, the knife is good to go. As always, I thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.